Hey everybody, welcome back to Your Free TV. It is Monday, April 17th, 2023. I'm so glad to be back with you here on the channel. Thanks so much for watching. I'm going to jump right in here with my disclaimer. This video is for entertainment purposes only. It is protected by the United States, protecting free speech as well as Sullivan Act and reporting. It is not intended to bully or harass anyone, never to incite violence or hatred or lawlessness of any kind. It doesn't give legal or medical advice, and there are further disclaimers in the description below. So glad to be back with you here on Your Free TV. I want to also, of course, thank my sponsor, C60 Evo. You can go to c60evo.com/YAFTV for 10% off on the most incredible antioxidant, C60 Evo caps, ESS60. This antioxidant gets into your mitochondria, it cleans up your cells, it helps to prevent your telomeres shrinking, and it works on inflammation in the body all over. And it also gives you great brain strength, great endurance levels, all of it. Go there, and if you contribute to the channel, you get 15% off. That's sent to you on a different link. So thank you to my sponsors, c60evo.com/YAFTV. Okay, jumping in. So I love today, okay? It's the third Monday in April, and this means it's Patriots Day. And a lot of the country doesn't really know about Patriots Day because it's primarily celebrated in states like Massachusetts, Maine, Connecticut. There are 3 other states that recommend that you celebrate it, but those ones actually have it codified into law as a holiday. And of course, especially Massachusetts, where the American Revolution was kicked off and fought in its infancy. And what is great about Patriots Day is it recalls all of that information about what happened in the first American Revolution. And so I love to support that on this channel once a year because I think it's really important for people to know in this country that, this is celebrated. All right, it's celebrated. It also happens in Massachusetts. It coincides usually with the Boston Marathon, which used to be called the American Marathon way back in the day. I think it's like now 137 years of the Boston Marathon. Of course, the 10-year anniversary of the marathon, BOMBING. But it's really interesting to note that it all coincides. But basically, Patriots Day has been around since, longer. And so this is the situation with Patriots Day. It's a remembrance of the Battle of Lexington and Concord, right? It's a remembrance of the first shot heard around the world. It's a remembrance of Paul Revere and his ride, right? We get Longfellow's, great poem, Paul Revere's Ride, that's used to be read and recited by school children. They would memorize it. The best orator of those young children would get up and quote his poem, which I will link below for you to read. Great poem. But the real stuff here is that what a lot of people don't understand about Patriots Day or the beginning of the American Revolution was that it was pastors, okay? It was the Black Robe Regiment. It became known and feared by the British, army was the reverends, okay, who were organizing the Minutemen, organizing their congregations to fight the British and to fight for this American Revolution. And so let's get into that a little bit here. It's basically, you have celebrations, you have the reenactment of the battles, all of that. But what's the actual history? Well, the actual history of Paul Revere's ride, okay, coincided today, April 19th, 1775, is Paul Revere actually heading out of Boston to Lexington, okay, and to the actual home of a reverend, and that reverend was Jonas Clark. And Jonas Clark was very much involved with helping to organize against the British, and he would often house people like Sam Adams and John Hancock at his home. Those two guys, they were kind of smuggling, for the resistance. They were bringing in money to fund the Minutemen and to create an armory that was held in Lexington. And so they wanted to basically protect that armory, which was what the British were coming for that night on April 19th, 1775. And so you had Paul Revere riding to Jonas Clark's home in Lexington to warn them that the British were coming for that armory where they were storing all their weaponry to fight the British. And so what ended up happening, of course, was we had Jonas Clark getting his congregation together and basically asking them to fight. And you had 7 of his congregation members die in that first fight in Concord, and we see 18, another 11 of them wounded. 150 people came out of his congregation to come and fight. And then it goes on from there where, they fought them, on the Concord Bridge there and drove the British back to Boston. And what's interesting here is Paul Revere, his ride, all the Middlesex counties there in Massachusetts, running back, towards, then back again towards Boston, warning all of the other pastors along the route, because when they were fought back by the Minutemen, by the revolutionaries, they were fought back, and we had multiple pastors come out and fight with their congregations during that time as well. That would be Reverend Phillips Payson and Reverend Benjamin Balch. They also came out with their congregational Minutemen to fight the British as they were coming after the arms of the people back then. So Patriots Day is a really important day that a lot of people in America don't know about, but it exists in the Northeast as a commemoration and a memory of what it means to have freedom in this country and to celebrate these people that actually fought. And it's also a message, I think, for all of us with our pastors, our reverends, to get involved with a church where your pastor is willing to get into what's going on in the world right now, resist the tyranny, resist all of the tax breaks, resist all of the zipping the lip in order to get by. We need people who can stand up, pastors who can stand up, become the modern second Am Rev Black Robe Regiment that was so central in the American Revolution. Without it, they couldn't have had it, honestly. It was the reverends who actually were the best recruiters of Minutemen for the colonialist army. And so this is what became of our country in 1775 and made it all happen. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention today and honor it, because I think it's actually one of the best holidays in the country. And so I always honor it every year. And so going on from there, I want to bring people to another really interesting thing that came out over the last couple days, which is, this comes out of nationalfile.com, and actually from another site that I'll link below, where we have a woman named Lisa McGee. Lisa McGee has filed a petition. She filed FOIA requests regarding oaths of office for multiple people in the Biden administration. And talk about Patriots Day. This is where we're finding that they have now discovered that they cannot find oaths declaring allegiance to the United States of America of massive amounts of people in the Biden cabinet, in the administration, in the cabinet specifically, where there's no oaths declaring their sworn oath to the United States of America, okay, and to defend the Constitution. They can't find them anywhere. They're not on file. And this is massive when we're considering what's going on right now. So basically, this could lead to what is called a writ quo warranto, which basically means that there's no legal right to occupy office. And if these people can be found to not have any affidavits of sworn oaths on file, which they can't be found so far, these FOIA requests cannot find them, and they have to produce them within 10 days. And of course, this was a few days ago now, so we're going to wait and see what happens. I suggest you call, when you hear about this list that I'm about to describe here, that you call your Congress members and your senators. Of course, you call 202-224-3121 for your Congress people, for your senators, 225-3121. Say, hey, where are the oaths of office for these people that Lisa McGee has gone through Ferguson Law and other law firms to make sure that with her FOIA request being denied, that they provide these affidavits proving that they actually gave an oath of office to the the United States of America, that they swore allegiance, okay, to the Constitution. They cannot find them, and that would not be surprising, for entertainment purposes only, of what we know of this administration being absolutely doing the controlled demolition of our country in the, for cartel Babylon, especially the World Economic Forum and all of these foreign leaders as coming out through these leaks, the controlled leaks that they're putting on this kid, Jack Teixeira. But let's look at who this list is of people who there's not an oath to be found, okay, so far, and we shall see. This is who they are. Rochelle Walensky, director of the CDC. Oh, big surprise there, right? Miss, we're going to shoot up your kids with mRNA. Janet Yellen, okay, the Secretary of Treasury, who, claimed there's no inflation. Now we have mass inflation. Oh, now the dollar is about to die. Her. Jennifer Granholm, running around Japan, of course, fighting climate change, super in bed with the solar industry, super in bed with her husband's capitalist firms investing in these things. Well, Jennifer Granholm, Secretary of Energy, is on this list. Janet Woodcock, okay, one of the seniors up in the FDA, okay, the ones that are allowing for, the digital creation of proteins out of digital printing mobile machines like Elon Musk is putting out. Elon Musk, by the way, will be, of course, up in on I think Tucker tonight, which will be interesting to see what he has to say. But we know he has already said that he thinks that people who don't want to be part of IA might find themselves in exclusion zones, don't want to be controlled by the AI machine. Well, we'll create these exclusion zones for you. And as I've said over and over, Elon Musk wants to create what is the interim to the fascist globalist cabal, which is that we have sections. We have sections of the world created into districts. And that is supposed to bring out the 10 kings that will lead, of course, to the one world government, etc. But anyway, that's an aside. So then we get Xavier Becerra, okay, the HHS secretary, no sworn oath that they can find yet. Pete Buttigieg, big surprise there. His father, a giant Marxist, massive Marxist, communist, both of them from Malta. Pete Buttigieg grew up in Malta, moved to Indiana. His father, big Marxist over at Notre Dame University, all of that. Well, Buttigieg, no oath that we can find. Anthony Blinken, oh, that's a big surprise. Secretary of State, no oath. Where's your oath, Mr. Blinken, with your father who funds Soros? Oh, what's that? Uh-oh, hold on. That's interesting. That there's that Anthony Blinken's, of course, comes out of those two families. One, the Mossad on his stepfather's side, his father's side, funding Soros's Open Society foundations. And then we get Alejandro Mayorkas, DHS secretary, big surprise there, can't find his oath. Miguel Cardona, Secretary of Education. Massive history of huge fraud in education for entertainment purposes only there with Miguel Cardona. Gina Raimondo, Secretary of Commerce. Read everything going on in all of our commerce institutes in all of our cities. Okay, all of our situations there where you go and you try to do business in your area and it's being shut down by all of these globalist Agenda 2030 rules and regulations to do with our departments of commerce in all of our cities and states. Okay, AG Merrick Garland, no oath that they can find so far. The FDA Commissioner, Robert Califf, nothing, can't find his. Secretary of Labor, Marty Walsh, who of course is on his way out, and they're putting in Julie Su, his Secretary Deputy of Labor. She's moving in. No oaths they can find. In the piece des résistants is Kamala Harris. Nothing for VP Kamala. No surprise there. They cannot find their oaths to the United States Constitution. I will get back to you as this unfolds and what's going on there and what we can find out more about it. So from there, I want to move into this very interesting that came out last week, which has to do with DEA investigator Don Canestrara, legal proceedings that came out of Gitmo being declassified. So this is Guantanamo Bay proceedings to do with 9/11, and this has to do with specifically that it's come out that definitely we know more, but two specifically of the 9/11 hijackers, even though we know it was controlled, tactical nukes, directed energy weapons, whatever it was that took down the towers, we had the facade created of course, the airplanes, all of that. Well, two of those 9/11 hijackers are confirmed CIA agents. This is Gitmo legal proceedings that has been come out and released last week. It's huge. It's huge. That basically what's important here, as this is declassified, that we get that Muslim convert, John Brennan, okay, who signed, that letter that stopped the Hunter Biden laptop from being taken seriously before the 2020 election. John Brennan, the giant traitor for entertainment purposes only, he's a dual citizen with Ireland. John Brennan was the station chief in Saudi Arabia, of course, that overrode the rejection of the 5 visas of the 5 Saudis that were, 5 of the supposed hijackers at 9/11. But this is huge because it's literally the Guantanamo Military Commission releasing these documents, and they were redacted before, but now have come out. And it's really important to understand because, we know that it was Dick Cheney, his Systems Planning Corporation, multiple things below and attached to that as NORAD went down, stood down with everything that they planned for 9/11 to usher in this age of tyranny was really what's going on there. So we need, again, truth and reconciliation. That is the only way to get the truth, where we can offer reconciliation, legal refuge, okay, for the people who are the lowdowns in this, okay? The high-ups, no, they go to prison, okay? But the lowdowns need to come in, do truth and reconciliation, have a safe harbor, give us the truth, let Americans grok this information and move forward with a plan on how to take down this corporate deep state. And so there's that. I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. We also get the interesting situation where this Jack Teixeira, the 21-year-old who's now being charged in the Espionage Act, basically more, red flags, big stuff coming out where it's not possible that he could have done these leaks. He's being set up as the patsy. It's very sad. His mother's, florist shop is being attacked there in Dayton, Massachusetts. But, when we look at Jack, what's coming out through the Gateway Pundit is we're hearing that what was leaked was actually internal CIA documents, okay, not distributed to other intelligence agencies. So for him to even have access to those is very, so hugely unlikely, especially as a National Guardsman, okay, which usually they typically get together once a month to do their exercises. But what came out of the Gateway Pundit, this is on the rumor version right now for entertainment purposes only, but some of these were X-DIS cables, EXDIS, X-DIS, which means exclusive dissemination, which means they would not have gone out to any other agencies, okay, that they are for need to know, purposes only, that after the Chelsea Manning leaks back in 2010, the military was cut off from X-DIS cables or X-DIS information reports, which means that this information that's coming out is coming out from somewhere deep inside, the call is from inside the house. They literally are leaking this information. And, is it a white hat thing? Is it just showing the controlled demolition of our military, exposing of course, what's going on in Ukraine? We have to wonder, is this a white hat situation? Because everything they're exposing is pretty much, for our greater good. And so whatever this is, I actually, pray for this guy, Jack Teixeira, if he's being set up as a patsy here, that he could steal documents out of a skiff during he's in an intelligence unit that his stepfather was in, Default. His stepfather was in the same unit for 30 years with the Air Force intelligence. And so, is he involved? Who's involved? What's going on here? I'll keep reporting it as I find out. But it's clear that this is way deeper. And we have people like, Matt Gaetz putting out an initial quick resolution here to say that he wants there to be a resolution to force Biden and the DOD to disclose the U.S. troops in Ukraine. You think? No war powers resolution, nothing going on, but our American troops are in Ukraine. As I said in my last video, I think this is a winding down of Ukraine because I think they've already laundered all the money. And for whatever reason, I think they're going into the Build Back Better phase here. I think they're going into, now we can we don't want to destroy it too much. We don't want to, totally destroy what's left there. We want to go in now, being pressured by the corporations, being pressured by the mega banks to come in and do what you promised you would give us, which is we're going to get in there and grab that land. We're going to create the new system of the AI-run agriculture with the vaccine technology, all of it. They're going to go in there and do a new smart nation, which is what Victoria Nuland said last week. We're going to go in. It's time for, to build our smart cities. It's time to go in and build the new infrastructure, to build the new farming, all of it, she said last week, Victoria Maidon-Koo Nuland. And so there's that. And then we also get, interestingly enough, coming out news, we have, of course, Jim Jordan. They're in New York. They've been, having people testify in an open hearing in New York today about all of the lawlessness in New York City to do with Alvin Bragg, had to do with the Soros-funded rolling back of all laws that are just a revolving door for really violent criminals. And so you get a bunch of people coming, testifying, saying, that they are victims of these crimes. They're in New York. That went through. And so that is interesting to see. But what's more interesting is that what's also coming out of the House Judiciary Committee is that there is now basically they have two people who they think are key testimonies this is to do with the signature of the letter that came from 51 people out of national intelligence agencies, including John Brennan, including multiple other, several other CIA directors, multiple people in national intelligence that signed that letter back in 2019 that was put in the Wall Street Journal that basically said the Hunter Biden laptop is a lie, it's fake news, it doesn't exist, and that it was manufactured. And now the House Judiciary Committee has gotten these witnesses to basically report, and they're not people who we know of being at all wanting this to come out, but this is what we hear. So we had CIA acting director under Barack Obama, Mike Morrell, now working at CBS News, being part of this hearing situation where they're getting this reports where they're saying this was planned interference in the 2020 presidential election. That this coming out in October, after the laptop had been out for a while, all of us reporting on it so heavily, and then all of us censored so heavily and literally getting our channels taken down, everything happening to the debanking of everyone, all of it, basically coming out and saying, no, this report by these 51 signers was orchestrated out of the Biden administration. And that's the big tell there. It's coming out of the Biden administration, that report, basically linking to people, this is of course before Biden, but out of the Obama administration, leaking it to be set up Joe Biden's coming in, but with a lot of the same implanted ongoing SES members, all of the people that are in the permanent bureaucracy there. And so we get Nick Shapiro, former advisor to CIA Director John Brennan. He was also one of the intelligence director's advisors to Barack Obama. And then John Brennan made him CIA Deputy Director. Basically, Nick Shapiro also coming out as part of this report. So we're going to see in the next couple weeks where this goes. We've been looking at this for 2.5 years now. We already know that the laptop is real. I won't bore you with more of that, but just interesting to note that is now coming full bore, and we're looking at the possibility of people getting called up. That this moving forward, that we're getting some truth coming out, and we're seeing people like MTG coming out. She's starting her own podcast. I think it's called The Battleground with MTG. I think it even starts tonight. You can check it out. I think it's going to be cross-platform. You can get it on Getter or Truth Social, all over, where she's going to be talking about what we can do. So we need people like that who are going to tell us what can we do specifically as we're trying to fight this cartel Babylon moving forward. Of course, MTG, she came out and spoke positively of Jack Teixeira for bringing out these leaks, where we know it's not him. He's a patsy in a bigger situation here, where they're revealing that the USA has no ammunition. We have to get it. If we're going to fight China and Taiwan, we need to get that ammunition from South Korea. All of it ongoing. Egypt is providing, weapons to Russia. Ukraine has been getting energy from Russia this whole time. Okay, coming out in these leaks, literally during the war. Okay, it's not a staged event. No. This war that our U.S. military is involved with no war declaration is, literally Ukraine still getting energy from Russia during this whole thing. Okay, so all these things are really huge. Okay, and so we'll get into that. So yeah, Liz Cheney, that dirtbag, she has been calling for MTG's national, security clearance because of her basically saying these leaks are a good thing. And of course, we have MTG saying that Liz Cheney, we're going to come looking after your LLCs. Okay, that's why Liz Cheney's attacking MTG. We're going to go look at how are your LLCs involved, in the war machine. How is Lindsey Graham's LLCs involved? All of you people with all your investments and all of these things, the Halliburton machine, Liz Cheney just can't find a war he doesn't, Lindsey Graham can't find a war he doesn't love. Well, MTG is coming for you, so we do love that. Now, I'm going to get into one thing before I move on. A couple things. Well, let's just say we've got Redfield, James Redfield, former CDC guy, who's been seems to have swung against Fauci, against, the HHS, coming out basically trying to save his hide when he's been involved with it all along. Basically saying that he now is coming out saying that he told Fauci not to give the gain-of-function weapons of the bird flu to the Chinese terrorists. They're all the bioweapons terrorists. The Chinese. They're all one club, folks, and it's the technocratic biomedical transhumanists that do not have a nation. And but interesting that Redfield keeps coming out with more interesting information. And so I wanted to just mention here that we get this thing about swarming tech coming in. Swarming technology. This has to do with drones. It's coming in heavy, and this has to do with DARPA, where the Biden administration has given billions now for drone development. And we think drones. We think, they're bringing them to Ukraine. This is about big drones going in. Drone warfare, BHO style, Barack Obama, just go hit him with the drones, just like he did, where he basically killed thousands of people with drones. That was Barack Obama. Well, DARPA is working on something a little more nefarious, and this has to do with something in a program called AMASS, AMASS, Autonomous Multi-Domain Adaptive Swarm of Swarms. Swarm of Swarms. And the swarm of swarms is really important because what they're talking about here is where they create a drone swarm where there's, it could be anywhere from 40 to 250 drones that go in and create a swarm that's controlled by a central AI brain. And this central AI brain can tell them what to do, where to go, how to maneuver, all of it. And right now, this is being talked about in a combat situation where they will go and attack a target and just do it so dynamically that they can overpower the target with their dynamic maneuvering, etc., but also just onslaught of power. These are what are called autonomous lethal weapons systems, okay, or lethal mobile weapon systems. And right now, they're putting this out as a military thing, but really that Swarm of Swarms protocol, SOSP, it's being exercised by the Army and the National Training Center in California, what they call quadcopters, which are, these helicopter, type drones. They have, helicopter type systems in them. But they do these exercises where they have autonomous, drone warfare, where the military has to combat them. And that is very real, but what is, it's important to understand. But the bigger thing really has to do with the U.S. or any country where drone capabilities are really about surveillance and about finding and possibly eliminating, or at least surveilling or rounding up citizens, okay? And this is where you get your swarm-enabled tactics program, or offset, offensive swarm-enabled tactics. And where you could get, a couple hundred drones. They go in, they have biometric capability. They can go into a dense populated area, collect all the intelligence of the biometrics, who's there, what's going on, to be used in these urban areas for lockdown purposes, but also securing a target, finding a target, securing a target, and of course the full spectrum of surveillance, but also securing a target for either elimination or roundup. And I think that's so important to understand because we're really leading into a next level situation here as they crash the dollar, as I'll get into a second with Lula in China, basically, denouncing America, denouncing the petrodollar, and that's massive for what's coming for us. But, when we look at this, I want to reference, I'll link it below. There's a great video that came out over the weekend. Well, it actually came out like a few weeks ago, but I saw it for the first time over the weekend. And I'll link it below. It's called like The Reset or something, but it's an animated video that shows exactly the plan, which is, the biomedical tyranny. It's animated, but it's done so well to show what it means to have technology control how people will be sequestered, kept in isolated areas, or as Elon Musk would say, exclusion zones. Yeah, thanks, Musk. But yeah, it gets worse than that. I've talked about it before. We've got your insect bots, you got your reanimated bird bots. They literally use corpses of birds that they put technology in and put them, they make them with taxidermy into these drones. And it's all coming, folks. And so I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. A few other things I want to mention. California is now putting out a proposal to have fixed rates on the electric grid, where they're basically doing it as an equity system in California. The proposal is that based on your income is what you will pay for electricity. They try to make it sound all friendly and that it's great. It's equity, which has nothing to do with equality. It is just basically we're going to shut down your electric grid. That's all it comes down to. They're trying to say, oh, we're going to make the richer people pay more. It's ridiculous. So listen to what it is. Okay, this is super. So in South Africa right now, they're having rolling blackouts because what they did is they took out all the people. They totally replaced the entire infrastructure in South Africa. And so now they have race-based hiring and positions. When you get people coming in to fire people that actually can't do the job. That's met with massive, political fight back. And so Eskom out of South Africa right now, they're having anywhere from like 10 hours a day with no electricity, rolling blackouts. And that's what this California bill is all about, this proposal. And so the Public Utilities Commissions in California, they could order PG&E, Edison Cal, the San Diego company, to basically put in this fixed rate electric bill system. And, this is what it looks like. Anybody making, less than $28,000 a year would pay $15 a month for electricity. Anyone under $69,000 a year, they only have $5 more to pay, $20 a month. Okay. And then $180,000 a year, they only have to pay $51. I mean, what's going on? And then over $180,000, you only pay $85 a month. So this is all like ridiculous and obviously crazy, because if you're going to pay that little for electricity, it means you're not getting electricity. That's what it means. It means that they are using this as a canard, as a beard, to bring in Agenda 2030 systems where they are going to limit your use of technology. Of energy. You limit your use of electricity. You're not going to be able to use it, and you're going to be forced to have these limited fixed rates on you. You might want to spend $500 on electricity. You might want to spend whatever you want to spend on it, okay? And California is really expensive for electricity, and average household that has, has a lot going on, $200 a month or whatever, it's what it is, okay? But to say we're going to lower those rates so low is so asinine and so untrue. All they're saying is we're limiting your use of electricity. And so when we make you take these rates, we are going to take away your power. And that's what's coming, and that's absolutely what that is about. And so, we get people like Pete Buttigieg, who we can't prove yet that there's an oath to office to the United States of America, the Constitution. Well, he came out recently and said that, racism is killing people on the highways. Okay, Secretary of Transportation. People are dying, he says. 40,000 plus people a year. It's the same as gun violence. It's so awful. And it's because of those racist roads, right? There's something called ARPA-I. That's the Advanced Research Projects Agency, dash infrastructure. They have one for everything. They have a biomedical one, that's BARDA. They have one for every single department, okay, that is advanced research, meaning black books, meaning all of our taxpayer dollars going into these things with your senior executive service serving over them. Did they take oaths? Can we find them? Well, yeah, Pete Buttigieg is saying, we have these racist roads, and we have to, of course, use what has been earmarked by ARPA-I, billions, of course, to just literally create what is going to become the smart cities, which is going to become all the tech out of ARPA-I to literally create this prison planet, cities locked down, the smart systems, the smart infrastructure, all of it. And so there's that. And what else do I want to cover before I go here today? Yeah, of course, it came out that we have the spy balloons, I've been covering it forever. But yeah, the spy balloons, all 5 of them, okay, 4 of them we hardly heard about, well, at least 3 of them. Well, it came out in those same leaks, okay, that, of course, that the Biden administration have known about these balloons for 2+ years, collecting all of the intelligence, going over 24 of our most sensitive nuclear and ballistic missiles and military bases throughout the United States. They've known about it for 2 years, and so there's that. That came out, of course, and we'll get more into that. That's an important one, which I am going to get more into. 2 more things I'm going to mention before I go. One is, of course, we had that awful fire a week ago at the South Fork Dairy Farm in Western Texas. Now, Western Texas, this is factory farm country. Okay, this is like you drive through there and you smell it. You cover your nose. Like, you can't go through West Texas without wanting to throw up, honestly, because these factory farms are just, they're awful. They're awful. They are. I mean, it's just true. I mean, yeah. So, when I talk about, eating meat, eating cows, eating animals, to me, it's an experience with a farmer who can actually account for their animals. They're grass-fed and finished. They're local. They are small herds. Well, in these factory farms, it's disgusting. But what has gone on here? We're hearing that we heard recently that the mRNA is going into the milk. Okay, that the mRNA is big time going into the milk, and I think that's a really big deal for people to understand how important it is if you're going to have dairy that you know where it's coming from. It's so vital. But this awful, awful, awful fire that happened, it started with an explosion. They're literally trying to blame it on methane. No. It started with an explosion and a fire moving so fast that it literally burnt alive in a horrific ritual, I believe, 18,000 cattle. 18,000 cows murdered, destroyed. And we have to wonder, were they destroyed because of, the mRNA being in there and how destructive and awful that could have been? Was there something behind that, or were they just destroyed to take down more of our infrastructure, more of our ability to feed America? All of it. Is that what happened? We don't know yet. I'm still looking in. But this farm fire out of Dimmitt, Texas, this is northwest of Lubbock, about 75 miles northwest. Again, you smell it before you get there for dozens and dozens of miles. And so one of the hugest dairy farms in the United States, obviously, huge dairy farms are big business. And again, with the mRNA going into the cattle, in the dairy farms, it goes into the cattle, then it goes into the milk. And so I wonder what went on there in the background. I'm still going to keep looking in, and I invite any comments below with anybody with any information leading to, was this the destruction of something very, biomedical warfare catastrophe that could have happened, or is this, just another horrific ritual destruction of our infrastructure and these poor animals murdered in this awful way? I'm sorry to say it, but it's disgusting. This is literally 18,000 cows. That's about 26 football fields, worth of cows jammed in together. So yeah, awful. So prayers for them, honestly. And then the last thing I want to mention here, just from another awful note, and I'll try to raise the vibe after it, but we have the situation of these Satan clubs that are going on in elementary schools. Literally, it's so insane you can't even make it up, but it's true. And so we have this after-school Satan clubs going up across the United States. It's so nuts. Colorado, Ohio, New York, Pennsylvania, California. There's several more states where they're targeting 5 to 12-year-olds with this things they're calling after-school Satan clubs. I mean, how is it even? You just can't make it up because it's so insanely, disgustingly satanic. I mean, that's how we know. And so they're using the Satanic Temple 7 tenets. The Satanic Temple, that's, I think, Satanic Temple, is that, or no, Church of Satan, is that LaVey, Anton LaVey, or is that Aquino? We don't know. Is it Aquino from the military? Is it LaVey from intelligence? Anyway, these poor kids are being subject to, cartoon style, Luciferian, come towards the light, come towards science. Okay, they're putting it under this mode that, we need to basically follow science and do good works in the community. So this is so nuts, but they're calling it satanic clubs, Satan clubs. And it's allowed, and they're using the religious exemption or the religious, inclusion thing here by things that are called the Good News Club. The Good News Club, which is Christian clubs that are in schools as well. They're using that loophole to get in there, and I will link it below so you can read for yourself. But you can't make it up, and it's happening. It's happening. So I'm going to round it up there, folks. I know it's a lot of bad news, but at the same time, they're fighting so hard against us because we are waking up so hard. People are so awake. As I said in my last video, I can't go anywhere where I don't talk to somebody that's just fed up. They're done and they're not doing it. And so we just keep encouraging that, keep encouraging that, and invite the people that are showing a sliver of that awareness into conversation. Help them to feel safe enough to basically talk and to try to come to a new place in themselves, because people have been so isolated, so fragmented, so compartmentalized in what they do for a living, in their thoughts, in their values. And so we invite them in to try to create wholeness, try to bring out integrity. How can we make connections that can actually usher in people's consciousness to come to that, red pill moment or just a white pill moment? Basically an understanding of like, whoa, I want to be part of the good. I want to be part of God. And so that I think is our mission, truly, as info spreaders, as people trying to communicate the truth, especially for God and Jesus Christ, that we invite people to speak about their experiences and to feel that they are going to be reconciled, that they are going to be understood, and that we can help forge a giant coalition that way. We know that RFK Jr. is about to announce his run for president. He's been kicking it out of the park with all of his talking about the CIA, of course, the Fauci expose, talking about everything. He's been actually covering it pretty big time, and so I salute him in that work. And I think that I love this possibility of the end of a two-party tyranny, where we could see maybe a coalition coming together here. And we look at people like Joe Manchin. Is this, he just went to the Ukraine with Brad Paisley singing, Country Roads Take Me Home, West Virginia, totally insulting and disgusting, shaking Zelensky's hand. That's what we don't need. If he's going to run for independent, and go for it. But I invite it because I invite the honing. It's like, everybody sharpens each other and they all have to be on their best game. Get Trump against, talking to RFK Jr. and discussing warp speed, discussing what happened there. Get it all out. Get it all out, folks. That's the important part, is the truth sets us free, right? And we know that Jesus Christ told us that. So that's where we're at. I want to remind everybody that this coming weekend, I'll let you know in advance, just a reminder again, is that great conference that's going on in Redondo Beach there in Torrance, California. We get the American Freedom Alliance doing their Agenda 2030 education conference there, World War III, how to prevent it. And so many people are going to be there. You can go to AmericanFreedomAlliance.org if you want to attend in person, which is awesome. It's in California, so but that's you can use the code Dr. Rima and get 25% off, DRRIMA, and that is 25% off to attend in person. It's free. I think they're going to live stream it, for all of us that can't make it. You get your Ed Dowd, you get Steve Bannon, you get Rima Labau, that doctor who's doing great work, Christian-based, has been exposing vaccines forever. Amazing woman. And before I round up here, I just want to let people know that, Lula, who was installed by Biden, or in the World Economic Forum, all, Soros, everybody, the Chinese, Lula, who stole the election from Bolsonaro. He goes to China and basically meets with Xi and gets there, goes to the China Development Bank and says, the USA dollar regime is over, brazenly says it. Brazil is going yuan. The USA dollar, ascendancy is done. It's over. And so it's huge to understand that, the BRICS is the new way going forward. And so that's huge to have Lula, the communists, do that. Bolsonaro, we hear, is heading back to Brazil to fight, which is hugely, massively brave, considering what could happen to him. And so we pray for him. We pray for Bolsonaro. and the Brazilian people. And another interesting thing that did happen, which I thought was quite interesting, is that we have Xi and the CCP backing off of the Taiwanese no-fly zone. They said we're going to put a no-fly zone around Taiwan. That was really brazen, and backed it back to back. So we'll get into more tomorrow. Keep your your spirits up. And of course, that prayer room, that war room, that prayer room where, doing the heavy lifting with God is so paramount. So thanks for watching, folks. I super appreciate everybody who supports this channel. You make it happen, and we'll be back tomorrow. And happy Patriots Day, because my favorite, it's one of my favorite days of the year, honestly, because I love the story of the American Revolution and saying no to, to the empire, the British Empire, that tried to control us and tried to tax us on everything under the sun. And look at now, we're in such, imagine the taxes they had then compared to what we have now. And it's because the reason that the American Revolution was able to happen is because we had the Black Robe Regiment. We had the pastors, the reverends, willing to take a stand with their parishioners and to form coalitions. And they were involved all together from New England. It was Vermont, New Hampshire, and then as the Revolutionary War took root, Pennsylvania, all the way through, it was the reverends and the pastors that were organizing the Minutemen, the resistance, the colonists' army. So that should tell us something. So if you're not part of a church that has that kind of pastor or that kind of organization, find one that does, and also get involved in your church so that you can be that light, so you can be the person that says, hey, what about what's going on right now, Pastor? We need some organization here. Let's support our local candidates. Let's get out there and have committees in our church that goes out and supports the people who want to make the change. So you are free. Happy Patriots Day. I'll see you tomorrow.